Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Reality Flash. My name is Mike Bloom, and I am here to bring you breaking news from the wide world of reality TV. Today, we got out the word about Got to Get Out, and now it is time to break down some of the wildest moments from a show I truly cannot put my finger on, unlike that button. But first, you know I am never one to fish for likes, but I'm always fishing for tips and subs. I need them like I need Mimi's meatballs in my mouth at this moment. And you can send me any tips you might want to at justtips@realityflash.com. Just tips at therealityflash.com, I should say, which is any pieces of news in the reality TV stream you want me to take care of. And of course, you can always subscribe to this podcast at therealityflash.com. And while you're there, any ratings, reviews, greatly appreciated. As we found out through this Hulu product, this is a team effort. No man is an island. Hell, even the people that were finally able to get out did so as a collaborative effort. And it's through the support of all of you that I get the opportunity to come on and talk about some truly WTF reality TV. And I am so happy to be joined by two people who know their way around the genre, truly, talking about Got to Get Out in all of its glory. First, let me welcome in Jenny Autumn. Jenny, how are you?
Oh, Mike, I'm so good. I love a confusing this is a show moment. And when I heard that you wanted to talk about this with me and our other panelist here, I said, I got to get in, baby. Get me in. I don't want to get out of this. So I'm very pumped to talk about this with you.
All right, well, let's welcome in our other co-host. Sneaking up with his ghillie suit on, it's Chappell.
Yeah, I just hopped out the recycle bin, I'm good. Thank you for having me here. Like Jenny said, WTF reality moments are kind of our brand, it's kind of what we do. And so I think we're the perfect pair to talk about this reality show that I can't quite figure out if it's good or if it just exists. So I'm dying to talk that through with both of you.
Yeah,
It had moments.
and that's the thing is that listen, I of course have done a couple of reality flash episodes about this, both introducing the cast and the concept, and then most recently, right before it dropped, I got the chance to talk with one of the contestants, Omarosa, which is one of these moments as a reality TV devotee where like this is wild. And what's even wilder is it was the second time I've talked to Omarosa in the past 5 years. But I found out a lot more, including that, listen, if there's ever a celebrity survivor, apparently we should sign her up, which is
Ooh.
absolutely bananas. But once we
Yeah.
actually checked out the show proper, I got to admit, I am so much in agreement that, the way we're going to break this down is in a flashier format. We're going to talk through a list of 10 sort of moments slash storylines that I've compiled that are probably a best way to recap these 8 episodes, which are currently happening on Hulu. Also, before we proceed any further, we will be fully spoiling the events of all 8 episodes right here. So please hop out of a trash can, preferably, if you do not want to be spoiled further as to the events of the show, including how it ends, because I don't even know if I could say, like, is the whole worth the sum of its parts, because the parts are so scattered and wild, yet entertaining. Where, again, I came in, Chappelle, personally, with no expectations as to what the show would be, given the composition of its cast, given the, enigmatic concept as to what this was. But maybe it was just sort of the vibe it was going with. But I enjoyed whatever these 8 episodes were of Got to Get Out.
Yeah, it's giving me those same vibes of like the surreal life fame games. I couldn't tell you who won, but I know there were a lot of like famous people there doing stuff that they normally wouldn't do in a quote unquote competition that kind of feels like a game that anybody could win for an amount of money that is just kind of like, for some of them it's fine. For others of it could change their lives. And so I I too was trying to figure out, do I like this? Is this something that I would be willing to stick around for season two? Would I be really expecting them to bring a season two to us? I don't know, because there was just so many moments of chaos that really didn't add up to any real strategy or any aha moments. It was just people doing stuff in a house, and I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, Jenny. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel very much the same in that, like, okay, don't quiz me even 10 minutes from now on who were the winners of this show.
I mean, you could say literally anybody but 4 people in the cast were the winners of the show.
Yeah, and that's way more than, I mean, some of them barely knew their name. However, I had fun watching it, and I am very anti, like, especially when it comes to reality TV, like dropping a bunch of episodes at once. I'm not a fan of that format. I'm usually like really into the weekly one episode, like maybe if you have to do like a two to 3 episode drop. So when I heard that this was all gonna just get dropped at once, I was like, oh. But I truly feel like this was the best way to consume it all at once. It was a binge. And I think that for me, that was more enjoyable, because I think that some of the parts where it was like maybe not as exciting, you wouldn't get as annoyed because you wouldn't have to wait for the next thing. So I just felt like it was like a very bingeable experience. And I spent a lot of time being like, what can we do with this? Because I'm like, I feel I don't, like I'm always like, let's do the think tank, because I feel like there could be something really special here.
Yeah, I mean, what I think, honestly, and one of the big moments we'll get into for me, honestly, one of the highlights of the season was when the cast was most creative. And, something that we didn't necessarily know going in was, all the concepts of, like, how to get out right between the watchtower and the switch and the button, and then all these advantages that will get thrown in as well. But I was a little surprised that either from a contestant perspective or even a production perspective, there weren't more creative ways to kind of think outside the box. Like, even the recycling bins were provided by production, and the issue is that people would say, oh yeah, these just got wheeled up today, there's a good chance somebody's hiding in them. As opposed to, again, we'll talk about one very particular one. I wish there were more ways to enlist more creative methods to get out, other than just use what the quote-unquote random draw for an exit strategy production has given you. Try your thing, probably fail, rinse and repeat. So that's the hope that I would have for season 2, is that we get more creative thinking either on the part of the cast, or that the producers sort of give them the leeway, throw a bunch more random shit out there to be like, yeah, now you can try this, because then it won't seem as out of the ordinary when somebody tries something.
Yeah, no, it definitely became a certain point where it got formulaic, and so it was easier for people to, like, there's lots of talk of the offense versus defense, and it got too easy to just play defense. I want there to be more chaos, more ridiculousness, because the moments of chaos and ridiculousness that we got were really fun, and like I think was what really injected a lot of the joy for me from this 8 episode binge of WTF reality.
Agreed. I don't think you can fix the game, but I think you can make it stupider. I think you can put them in a,
which is fine by me.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I will also say,
but in a mall, something like that.
Well, I will also say though, I had a chat with Omarosa not only for the RHAP podcast, but I also talked with her in sort of a postmortem for Parade, because now that you've seen those episodes, check them out, because she dropped a major bomb that there was even more we did not get the chance to see, and maybe this includes some of those, stupider, chintzier elements in there. There were daily competitions in Got to Get Out.
That were cut? Like, aside from, like, the few things we saw, like, the shredded paper
so the shredded paper is this, like, the sole example we got of those competitions. Like, for example, I had heard through the grapevine that, like, the people that got the exit strategies for the car on the first day, that was through winning a challenge. It seems like a lot of these advantages that were given out were not necessarily, again, based on, oh, you randomly got this exit strategy. It was due to a challenge that had existed that day, that had been run, that had been won, but whether due to the runtime or due to whatever, they decided not to show any of it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Because, like, so they were going in to the ticker tape room, and like some of them knew that they were going to get something because they had already done challenges.
I think so. I think from what I've been told, I think it was like that they were competing for like advantages, and maybe advantages might exist in the form of those exit strategies, or might exist in the form of other things.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Give us the
The
other
fact that
edit.
I don't even know if I want it, because if we were able to get from episode 1 to the end of this without them, did we really even need them? I don't think at
True.
one point I thought they should be doing challenges. I definitely thought they should be doing something, but it was never like competing for any type of competition. That was never a thing that crossed my mind, because I was really hoping that someone would come up with something really creative, and then when they start sprinkling in these different ways of getting out and like these different mechanisms to keep you from getting snitched on, like I was like, okay, but it just was from episode to episode. Like Jenny said, if this was a weekly drop, I probably would have made it. Because it just, there's like almost no suspense a lot of times. You're not getting out like that. You're not just running down the driveway. We need y'all to spice this up. So I'm sure there's something there, but I don't know yet. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So again, I have distilled this down like a nice base sauce into 10 moments, characters, storylines that we'll use to sort of parse our discussion through. And I'm sure we'll go on many, many tangents, many long, winding driveways as a result of that. Yeah, who would have thought? Very against our trademark. So I'm going to start with the big one here. I'm going to usually put these in chronological order because it does kind of allow us to talk our way through the season. But look, I have to start with the fact that I think on paper, when you look at this cast and you say, oh, it's apparently reality TV royalty versus reality TV rookies, though again, rookie is a very loose term considering that we're dealing with Rashad Jennings playing on as many seasons of reality TV as someone like Gino from Big Brother Canada 10. But one of the standout characters of not only the newbies, but the entire season is Nick. Nick, the game designer, or as he decides to do. Now, there's a lot of discussion in reality TV today, right? About like, when you go on a show, do you lie about your job? Do you pull a Sue May and lie about your age? This guy said all of the above.
Yes, he said yes.
Nick, the game designer, becomes Doodles, the toy maker. Doodles, the toy
Sounds like
maker.
an elf name.
It does, which is crazy that no one questioned this. Like people were like, well, did someone say, "Hey, your mom named you Doodles"? Like, oh,
no, there was a legitimate conversation where someone said, they said, "Oh, it makes sense that he makes toys because his name is Doodles."
No, that he was born into it. Actually, it was destined. Like his birth name was
like
Doodles,
Gale
and then
Hailstorm has to be a weather person, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not a name that gets coined later. Like it becomes what it decides what you do for the rest of your life because of what your parents named you.
I have to say, of the past maybe 7 days of my human existence that I've encountered, there's maybe not a thing that has made me laugh more than every single time someone said the word Doodles with the severity and sobriety of a cardiac episode of like, well, here's Doodles making a run for it. How do you take this man seriously when he's like, aha, I will surely disguise how wily I am with my intentions if I say I'm a toy maker and my name, Doodles. No one will respect my faulty identity then.
And then from there, Mike, imagine being, and not to jump ahead because we will take our time to get there, but like, listen, this is all spoiler, chat here. Imagine being a person who finds themselves in a showmance with a person who goes by Doodles.
Now,
and then
Jenny.
You're like, oh, Jenny. I have to talk about my crush on Doodles.
Jenny.
What, Chappell? I don't like where this is going.
You know where I'm going with this. Jenny, you couldn't see young Jenny being like, okay, Doodles, I see you. Jenny, let's be honest.
Come on. Who among us hasn't wanted to diddle Doodles, right?
Jenny. Look, me and Jenny have talked a lot. We know a lot about each other, Jenny.
I have had strange taste, but Chappell, you know that I'm not a Doodles girl, okay? It's not enough thigh for me.
Look, when he walks in, you're like, no. But the moment he says his name is Doodles, you're like, go on.
You're like, oh, that's weird. I like that. That makes you
like
kind
he was peacocking a little bit. It was on Hulu, but he was peacocking of like, aha, you'll remember Doodles.
Yeah.
That's Doodles.
Well, there's something about the confidence that
See?
you carry to be okay. Like I'm already coming around on it.
Right?
I'm like, all right.
That's how he
you
gets you.
are.
But like,
You
there's
have
such a
confidence. You're
to your
doodles.
point. We'll get into the relationship much more. But there's an incredible line from Athena towards the end of their tryst when she says, "I don't know where Nick begins and Doodles ends," which is like, what a
Doodles ends when we say
commentary on
cut.
art in the artist. A real Jekyll and Hyde situation. Dr.
Yeah.
Nick and Mr. Doodles.
Doodles
Which
is the
leads me
gamer.
to ask,
Yeah. Mhm.
because I know that there was another point where Athena does use his name and calls him Nick. Did I know that she gets some other secrets of his? Is she the only one that knows his name is Nick? Like
Yeah,
that
who's she
reveal
talking to?
didn't seem to be like,
Well,
and then Spencer calls him Noodles. Like
that is good God. If there was ever a giant sprinkle to put on this ice cream sundae, it was that Spencer Pratt doesn't even have the respect to call him by the fake name he wants to be called by, and he just says Noodles and
Noodles.
Athena.
No,
But
look,
maybe that's a portmanteau and he knows his name is
Nick and Doodles.
and it's
yeah.
you take Nick and Doodles and it becomes Noodles.
I just think Spencer thought his name was Noodles.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think that's a very strong possibility.
Like, no, I'm pretty sure his name is Noodles, guys.
Like,
You're all saying it wrong.
Let me give my boy Doodles his flowers, okay? Because Doodles, his persona works, okay? He comes in thinking, all right, I'm just going to be the jolly toy maker. Who I don't know why I picture this man like sitting around whittling like a wooden like a ball
he's
in the cup.
Stana's workshop.
Right. But he's like, I'm gonna be the jolly toy maker, and no one's gonna suspect that I am the evil mastermind of the season. And he was. From the first episode, we get Doodles doing all kinds of stuff, and then taking off his Doodles mask and revealing Nick, the crazy gamer, who's gonna yell at Athena in the hallway. So yeah, Doodles was a whole thing. If you didn't watch it, don't let us undersell Doodles, okay?
The show,
Doodles
like,
is
honestly,
a 8-episode experience.
like, with no disrespect to many of the people that were in there, the show kind of lived under the grasp of a few select people, and I would not have guessed whatsoever that Doodles the toy maker would have been like the confessional king of the season, because he was running all the time. But I still love, to your point, Chappelle, that like every time he got caught, he was like, "Whoop, that's Doodles for you."
Yeah.
Me, Doodles. That's it. Like,
Yeah, like he was kind of irkling his time on Cut to Get Out, where he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh well, you gotta love me. I'm the
Hey,
kooky next door
kids,
neighbor
it's
who lives in your
just me.
house."
just
He
me,
is
Doodles.
He's the second person that gets caught trying to get out unsuccessfully. And the difference in the vibe and treatment of Doodles compared to Steve,
To Liar
who
Steve.
we will get to Liar Steve and Trashcan Steve and all of the Steve, who like becomes like the pariah immediately after doing this. Like, minutes, it's got to be like not much longer. Doodles does the same damn thing, and then everyone's like, "Oh, that Doodles, like, shucks," like, and then he's treated so differently. Like, he has silly guy privilege. Like,
Yes.
I don't know how else to, like, you know what I mean? He's just like,
He's got
I don't know,
he's got
like, moving
goofball
his body.
immunity. Yeah, goofball
Yeah.
immunity of like,
He's-
oh well.
No one's gonna get this reference but me. But it's like he's Sneakers O'Toole. It's like, I can't take my sneakers off because I'm just Sneakers O'Toole.
Sneakers
And just like
O'Toole.
runs away. Yeah, it's like, oh, let him go. We'll never catch him. That's how they are with Doodles.
He feels noodly to me though. Now it's like incepted to like where he's just like a slippery like little noodle. He's like, it's fun. I'm just a noodle. Like I'm just sliding around. Like he moves like a noodle.
You can't get
It's
mad at a
Doodle the
noodle.
No, he
Yeah,
can't
like,
get
and
mad at
Doodles,
the
I
especially
feel
with
like-
Mimi's meatballs.
Okay, well, all right, well, yeah, Doodles goes great with Mimi's meatballs. We need to talk with, in my opinion, my MVP of Got to Get Out. Again, with no disrespect to the cast. Now, look, I'm not a purveyor of a lot of stuff in the Bachelor world, so I didn't really know anything about Susan Knowles coming in here, except for the fact that she looked like Kris Jenner and that she was on the Golden Bachelor.
Yeah.
And number 2 has to be 2 moments from Susan, who gets handed these golden opportunities, these open sesame advantages. Susan is like if Signalgate was a person, where this woman cannot keep anything under cover.
Everyone's invited to this conversation. And everyone you could possibly know. She could not be more excited to tell everyone.
So just to recap,
so
she gets this advantage not once but twice. And the advantage is that you pick another person, and if you say open sesame together at the same time at 2 different locks, one of the locks will open and you will get out. The first time, for whatever reason, she leaves the room and starts buzzing around going, "Ooh, I got something good. Ooh, you're not gonna believe it." And proceeds to tell everybody what she has. The second time, she's like, I learned from my mistakes. I got to keep this on the DL. And she does. She gets 2 people involved. And somehow, in a show where you have all the time in the world, she picks the exact wrong 20-minute period to fall asleep after making meatballs for the entire house and sleeps through the alarm.
The meatball coma, like it decides for you, okay? She could not control that.
I have to watch The Golden Bachelorette. I have to. Right? I have to watch it now.
I'm obsessed with this woman.
How did she? There's no way this lady went far into that season and we didn't get just clip after clip after clip. Like, The Bachelor takes itself very seriously. There's no way they knew they had this character on their hands. There's just no way. Because when she screws up the open sesame, it's because she has told every person that exists that it's happening. Then she got her number one ally, Demi. She's like, Demi, it's me and you. We're bachelor sisters. We're gonna do this
in front of other people. Like that's the other thing. She won't even have the conversation because she has to pick a person. She won't even pick the person in private. She's doing it in front of other people.
And poor Demi is torn between like, damn, thank you for helping me get out, but also we're not going anywhere. There's nowhere else. It's like, how in your mind do you even perceive us getting out of here? Do you think they're just gonna let us go? What's gonna happen? I love her so much. Yeah.
Give her a
and then bonus points go to when she, of all people, in the Secret Santa exchange with Doodles must have been in heaven because this was home away from home. She gets the Santa suit and she gets yet another form of an open sesame, which is she has to throw her arms up and say, dash away, all. And she nearly almost awakeningly sleeps her way through it by almost forgetting what she had to say to open it up. It would have been like, we got this scare a little bit in Survivor 42 when Mike Turner kind of forgot the soccer line and almost didn't get his idol. Susan almost did that, got even closer to abysmal failure, even though it still ended up being a failure by forgetting the only thing that she had to say to unlock the door.
But in Mike Turner's defense, all of these Survivor sayings from the times where that was a thing in New Era Survivor were made up things that aren't things. Now, dash away, all is a thing. Like, people, she acted as if she had never heard this before.
Who was
she was like, it's not Dancer and Prince. She starts naming reindeer, and it's like, okay, you're all there, you're in the right area. But so I think that it's like a line from a thing you've heard before. It's not like you just got a piece of paper and you have to memorize a random statement that has never existed in your brain before. No, it just took off. It was not in her brain. And she's freaking out in this Santa suit with insane blush on. Why the blush? Why did she have
Santa has rosy cheeks?
Okay. Yes. I love that she went and put it back on because I feel like it was the next day. She got back into the Santa suit and put the blush back on and is just having this meltdown with Gino, aka Steven from my Canadian friend. Insane. What was this?
And then she also, through this, does succeed in getting a window open, but isn't this the one where Gino basically handicaps himself for the rest of the show because he pops his hamstring trying to run down the driveway?
He blames
In
her.
barefoot.
Yeah, he blames her. He's like, I didn't even stretch. Like, oh my God, you can't just spring this on me. And so he's neutralized the rest of the game. That's it. We have a legit injury, but it's got to get out. So we can't medevac him because that would be, him getting out. So we have to leave him in there with a pulled hamstring and just laid up with the inability to do anything except, I don't know, run interference for people. That's it. Congrats.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, when
And he was
Susan's already
close.
running her own interference, like it's God, it was incredible. I need to see her. They need to bring back Celebrity Big Brother and put her on.
Yep.
Like,
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
good
I want her on the
Lord.
Traitors too.
She
Yeah.
would make Angela look like Dan Giesling in terms of subtlety. Like she
Oh.
would be incredible television.
But imagine the Traitors though, Jenny. Imagine that. Imagine what it is. They come to her in the turret and she comes with like, I just couldn't even imagine her at breakfast the next day. Cause she would just be sitting there and just dying to be like, yeah, so I don't know who I'm gonna murder tonight, like,
Yeah.
like,
She would turn to a fellow traitor and be like, "Oh my God, last night when we were in the turret, you were like," like she just can't help herself.
No, you know what would be perfect is the task that they have to do in plain sight. This is perfect for Susan. She's like, oh God, I dropped the pen I have to use to write the names on the gravestone. Does anyone see the pen? Oh, I dropped the chalice.
She just sleeps through a round table.
The round table, yeah.
But the great thing is, like, she never took it too seriously, and that, like, when, who was it? It was, like, Val and somebody else that she got involved in the Mimi's Meatballs plan, and they, like, woke her up, and she's just like, oh my God, I can't believe it! Like, they are just they're so angry at her, because they're like, you came to us with this plan, and you ruined it!
And she was making them feel like, well, she's like, why didn't you wake me up? Well, it's because Val had a job that involved being at the microwave pretending to heat up meatballs so that they could disable the watchtower crank thing, and Gino is at the other window waiting to open sesame with you, expecting that you, the person with the clue that came to them, will show up. They don't have time to go find you, Susan. You gotta show up, girl. Oh God. So good.
Oh my God. All right, moment number 3. Let's talk about another MVP of this show, and he'll pop up a couple times here. We got to talk about the man who tried to get out first. Jenny mentioned him before. Because Gino decided to go by Steven here, there is Steve Helling, and initially he was Steve H., but then they immediately, a la our current sitting president maybe, decided to brand him with the nickname Liar Steve, and Chappell. It sticks to this guy like glue the entirety of the season.
It's so tragic how this happens to him, because you tell anybody who's watched a competition reality show, you got to get out this house. They're going to start plotting. They're going to start scheming. They're going to try to make a move. And this man he's the first one to get caught. I don't know what else to say. If being the first one to get caught, he put this big elaborate scheme together. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. As someone who's watched a lot of reality TV, if you're able to step out of it into the meta, you would have to know that it can't be this easy. It just cannot be this easy to get out of the house. You mean to tell me all you got to do is wait till this thing turns green, get out and drive a car up the driveway? Yeah, sure. And so he makes this lie. I got DQ'd, y'all. I did something. I can't even. Yeah, I'm so disappointed.
Which is interesting, because maybe that applies to the challenge,
to the
like
game.
Saying,
yeah,
I got DQ'd from the challenge.
It makes sense now, because I never understood what he got DQ'd from. He kept saying I got DQ'd. I'm like, then why are you in the house? If you can't win, then get out. But he's like, no, I got DQ'd. Everyone's feeling bad for him, and he chooses this moment to escape and gets into the sports car, which I don't know. It's like these people they've never seen a sports car before, or heard one for that matter, because there was no way that this was going to happen with this man who's clearly doesn't know what he's doing driving his car. He gets caught, and everybody has branded him the liar because he was the first one to enact the scheme and fail. That slow walk down the driveway, of that walk of shame. He looked like a little kid who did something he didn't want to tell his parents, because everyone's so disappointed in him. Steve is a big character throughout, and I'm so happy that we got him on this show in particular.
I have to say, another thing that sucks for Steve here is that I think part of why he gets like so much vitriol is, and maybe I'm getting the chronology of this wrong, but was it not Rob who is the first person who
Yes.
comes out and basically says, I have the opportunity to take one of these cars and go, and I'm not doing it. And so this is after this guy's being like, I am so honorable and I'm not going to do this to you. And then Steve's like, well, frig, I'm definitely still going to try and do this. But then, and this is where I can't defend Steve too much, because instead of just trying to go for it and then like worrying about what to do if it blows back later, he decides to, and this is something that he tends to enjoy doing for the rest of the time here, is like make up extra stuff that maybe was not necessary. So I think that some of it was just that, like, it was right after people were greeted with the idea that, oh, some people are actually going to play this very honorable, and it looks super bad, like, in comparison to that. But also the fact that, like, he could have just tried it, but instead, like, lulled people into this, like, sense of security because he said he was disqualified. Like,
So
oh,
then
boy.
Steve is in the doghouse. He won't be in the birdcage until a little bit. And so he decides to follow this up with, as mentioned before, a good amount of recycling bins show up at the front of the house. And in that moment, Liar Steve gets branded to Trash Can Steve, because this is at the same time as Susan's open sesame plan. So they're all focused on that. Meanwhile, he is throwing all of this shredded paper out into the bushes, climbs to the trash can, is muttering to himself, please find me, please find me. It seems as if, like, if someone did not listen to the warning from inside to go search for the trash cans, maybe he would have made it out, but it was like, again, the reaction of them finding out, like, oh my god, he's in the trash can, just somehow even worsened their perception of him from where it was before.
Yeah, did they call him Oscar the Grouch at some point?
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
funny because he couldn't even fit in the trash can due to all the shredded paper. So it's not even like they walked past the trash can that didn't look like it had someone in it. There was just it's any second now someone's gonna say, "Hey, there's a person in here." So they caught him. It was so embarrassing. This is following the walk of shame down the driveway. So now he's had two moments where it's like, Steve, you get back in the house, Steve. So everyone's mad at him. And Doodles is just running around, just lollygagging and doing shenanigans left and right. And people are just like, see, Steve, why you can't be more like Doodles? We love him.
It's so ridiculous. I don't know how much time elapsed here, but like he's got the top of the recycling bin open because he can't fit himself in, and then he's just tossing all this shredded paper out, and for whatever reason the angles that people can see, they're not seeing any of this happen. So truly, I think, like you guys said earlier, if these weren't just randomly brought in and they were things that had been there the entire time, these recycling bins, I think that this could have worked. I feel like he was seconds away. The recycling guy was already tipped him over and started to wheel him away when someone comes and says, "There's someone in here." It was giving like the Scooby-Doo like ripping of the
Let's see who
the
you
mask.
really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, freaking trash can Steve. And I love Brandon King, Spencer Pratt saying, because he knows, like, hey man, you're making yourself an icon now. Like, this man's game has been crashing and burning within like the first 24 hours that he's there. He just got branded Trash Can Steve, but Spencer's like, this is good. You're definitely on the show. And now there's going to be like shirts that are like Trash Can Steve. Like, he's already building his brand for him. Love it.
I will say, Spencer maybe having a very generous take as to the viewership numbers of Got to Get Out. I'm not Nielsen, But I think those have to come from cafepress.com if we get any sense of Trash Can Steve shirts being put on the line.
We got to be
Yeah,
optimistic here.
yeah, I think Spencer, might be a little wrong on here. I think for the few of us who watch this, Trash Can Steve is an icon. I don't know if we will remember Trash Can Steve and his shenanigans, but this time next year.
All
We
right,
can make our own shirts.
There we go.
Just for us.
Well, Spencer Pratt, who is part of our number 4 moment here, is someone who, of course, knows about that, considering he wore a Heidi Montag shirt probably at least 6 out of the 8 days or 10 days that he was in the house. And, I will say Spencer Pratt, probably one of the biggest names to come into this. Not a lot of huge highlight moments from him. Despite his scheming, he largely did kind of sit back and observe, partially because he didn't get an exit strategy. With this lone exception, and this was still something that was brought to him by Kim Zolciak, who was another highlight for me. Yes. Her going slowly stir crazy over the lack of wine in the building. But this is what I was talking about earlier, in that I thought the plans to get out would be much more along this line, where there is no exit strategy. Kim just comes up with this idea off of the noodle or the doodles, where she says, hey, there are all these random white guys walking around. If we dress up Spencer like one and have him hold up a potted plant and just walk down the driveway, they'll just think he's part of the crew and he can walk out. And it was this was the moment for me that I'm like, oh, this is what they want the show to be.
Yes.
Spencer is, for some reason, stuffing a profuse amount of blankets under his shirt because they imagine that Spencer Pratt is recognizable by body type. Evidently, the plant was great, that because they found him with the first plant, he had to then pile up a bunch of plants around the window to be like, I'm doing kooky Spencer stuff. And then just the image and the cliffhanger, because there was a cliffhanger at the end of every episode here, and the cliffhanger of him holding this fern, just confidently striding down the driveway. Chappell, it was art. It was cinema.
Yeah, and then they press the button and he has to come back like, oh, rats, you got me. And I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for them meddling kids, And it's like, oh, Spencer. I thought this was inventive. Like you said, Mike, this is one of the moments where I'm thinking, okay, I like this. It's very much hide and seek with your friends and family when you're younger. It's like, I only have so many options. Let me just tuck behind this plant, or let me pretend to, change outfits or something like that. Maybe someone won't see me. So I thought this was very inventive. It was cool. And this is where I start to get hope for, some of the escape plans. But very quickly, we're going to run out of stuff to do in the actual house that is just like random household items, and we're gonna have to start creating different mechanisms for you to get out that are not just, hey, I tried to escape using a disguise or in a box or something like that. Gotta get creative. So the Spencer moment was great because it was the first bit of out of the box thinking that we had gotten.
I loved this whole phase of the game because these were obviously two people that I really enjoyed watching, and their relationship, there was lots of little interactions between the two of them, where Kim is Spencer is annoying, but also I really like him. He's funny. They had this just funny little banter between the two of them. And to see them trying to work together on this plan, I can't remember who walked in and saw him dragging around the plants, and then he was like, "Oh, I have to make this a thing now. It's a thing
guy.
where I'm just being weird. I went from the crystal guy to the plant guy now." And there was all these comments about the physique and appearance of the crew, where it's no, I knew as soon as I saw that wasn't the crew. They're much better looking.
No
I'm
chubbos on this crew.
Yeah, what the heck? But some of the shots were the angle of it, you could just see parts of his body, and then there was a giant fern blocking his face. I'm I feel that could work. And this is another part where I'm almost is there a case to be made to allow some distractions in the house, maybe a couple bottles of wine for Kim? Because I think part of the problem, and I think that this is something that ends up impacting the possibilities for silliness and more inventive things to happen here, is that people start to figure out the format, what things can happen, like how much time you have to shut things down, and everyone dials in on just watching everything, and they have nothing else to do, it seems, that would take them away from just sitting in a window or standing at the watchtower. So I'm like, imagine if we could get a little sloppy. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
imagine if Kim gets to have a couple glasses of wine and people are bored. Like, you've seen how excited people are in the Big Brother house when they get their like 4 cans of beer to split between like
Yeah.
10 people. So I just feel like there needed to be more things like that to have the possibility of distracting people, because I really truly feel like the earlier days were the best chances of actually getting out, because people just started to get too dialed in. They're like, okay, there's nothing to do here except for watch everything. And
Yeah.
I feel like this was one of those things that would have worked if there was just a little bit more distraction going on, or like just not everyone was paying attention.
Yeah, and I think it's also, I don't know if they had imagined that there wouldn't be like 16 people by the end, but it's also tough from a manpower perspective, to the point where I don't know if they had always scripted in like, okay, and now we're gonna spray paint the windows, and now we're gonna board up the
No,
windows.
they were coming up with that, like,
Yeah,
to be
they're
like,
like,
okay, we got to
"Ugh."
do something here.
Yeah, because these people, when there's just enough people around to police everything. So it was a nice, bright moment of inspiration. I will also mention, because we won't get too many like Spencer Pratt moments, but another fun, I wouldn't even say creativity, but another moment with Kim sort of ancillary to it was when they had the thing where they had to put the bear in the bird cage. And so Kim and Omarosa steal the bear, and then Spencer tries to walk in, and Omarosa pulls down her pants and says, I'm changing, HR.
HR. It was reminding me of like the House of Villains when she got injured.
Yes.
It was like very much like, I'm getting HR involved. Like, this is, yeah, it was classic. And he said, he walked right away. He's like, they're definitely doing something with this bear, because Omarosa just pulled her pants down to stop me from being in that room. I will say, I was very happy to get Spencer back on our screens. We got a glimpse of him doing a cameo
Right.
in House of Villains, right? And I was like, why is he not actually on the show? And so I didn't like, that was one of the great surprises to see that he was actually competing on this cast.
Well,
And
yeah, and not only that, this is his first reality show, he told me, without Heidi. He has done every
Yeah.
single other show with Heidi, including when they were competing on I'm a Celebrity and Celebrity Big Brother. So
Right.
it's a big step for him, and especially, it must be so odd for him to look back on this show as well, of course, given a lot of the recent stuff he's been through with the fires.
Yes. No, I feel like that we could have gotten more. I think that he really wanted to be gaming. And it just like there were some components of the game that kind of kept him from reaching his full potential, is what that's my criticism. I feel like we were maybe had our Spencer stifled more than I would have liked.
Well, I do like that some of their motivation isn't just getting out of the house because they want the money. I think some of them want to go home. And so I think at some point, Spencer is ready to leave. And he's like, I want to go, but if I could get some money on the way out, it'd be nice. And so, I too enjoyed Spencer on TV. He's always good TV. That's just what he's good at.
All right. Well, for number 5, let's check back in with all things Doodles, shall we? Let's talk about, listen, we're all avowed watchers of Big Brother. We know the effect that cabin fever, love goggles, only a certain assorted amount of people, warm bodies in front of you as you're seeking out what all of us humans do, companionship in this life. We get it here somehow in Got to Get Out, and it's a romance enshrouded in secrets between the beloved Doodles and Athena, the Bachelor Greece contestant. But some of you heard this before, Chappell, going full Bronte, a secret mathematician.
Yeah. This is funny because it's like, okay, Doodles needs a showman. We're going to do a showman with Doodles. Great. Who do we pick? It's like, how can you not pick Athena? She is they match each other's freak. They just do. He's like, I'm a secret I'm a secret game designer. She's a secret mathematician. I think she has like a PhD or she's working on it. Like this she's very, very smart when it comes to the numbers. But maybe not so lucky in love. You know, she falls hard for Doodles very early on. The love story, I compared this to the surreal life, but it's very Brigitte and Flavor Flav. You know, it's like this odd couple that is just meeting up under these weird circumstances, and it's kind of precious, and I'm kind of rooting for it. But then it will then devolve into, mistrust, game betrayal, and even some heated words coming from Doodles to his. I don't know, his ex-girlfriend. I mean, I think we watched their entire love story over the course of the several days that they were in the house.
Listen, and this type of experience, hours are like days are like months. So I think it really makes sense that we saw the full, we saw years worth of their love and their relationship, and reaching the frustration when you are trying to accomplish, a common goal. One of the things that Doodles comes to love about Athena is that she's secret smart. Like, not only is she a hottie with a body, like she's a secret mathematician. I can't believe that this is the second time this has happened, that we've had the I'm a mathematician reveal. Like nickels. It was so
exactly.
So yeah,
and she'd be able to tell you about how many nickels those were, considering her math skills. My favorite though. But the thing though is that like there were sincere reactions to the secrets revealed, especially Doodles decides to pull out his trump card. He's like, "Listen, I'm not just a game designer. You know the game Jumanji? I made the second version of that. It's been talked about once upon a time that whether or not when Jumanji is when you come out of the game or when you go into the game. Doodles knows that all too well, and Athena is legitimately starstruck that the man who designed Jumanji is someone that she is shacked up with right now and will soon be smooching in a mere day's time.
But look,
he found the target audience.
But Jumanji, the sequel, not even Jumanji. Like that's what got me. I was like, Athena, I could see if this was the original Jumanji, like Robin Williams getting sucked into that thing. I'm like, that's the one. She's talking about the Rock Jumanji. That don't count. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the board game? Really? I was like, Athena, stand up. I know, like, damn, I know you in the house trapped with a man named Doodles, but I mean, he must be hella charming because that shit worked instantly.
I mean, she loves a smart man. It's so funny though that like, and this is kind of just going back to the legend of Doodles. It's like, is being a game designer the new career that we have to lie about? Like, are we more threatened now by a game designer than a lawyer? Than someone in sales, let's say? Like, what? It's so interesting to me because it's like, can you for sure say that being a game designer, obviously you understand game theory, like, you are a gamer, but I think that also this particular game is not the same, and there's a lot of other components that just having that as a career isn't going to, like, aid you in. And so I just think it's so hilarious that like this is his big lie.
I disagree. How dare you? How dare you? If this man said he designed Don't Wake Daddy, I'd be like, you gotta get him out. He's crazy. Like, this man here, this is the perfect skill set. Or if he did like a Mousetrap, it just feels like those are the type of games that
Hungry Hippo.
That's the thing. I think it depends on the show. Like, if it's like, oh, I've designed Jumanji and you're playing Survivor, it's like, how is this applicable whatsoever? Like, yes, it's a jungle-based setting, but like, you're not the one that's coming up with the cards. You don't need to predict twists. The people are the twists in that manner of speaking. But I feel like this, right, where it's specifically like, I've got to think of cool, creative ways to do things. It makes a lot of sense that it carries over into this particular set of skills.
Yeah. But it's not like he's like, I designed this game. I am actually a producer.
It's me, the architect. You know, like,
Yeah, this is actually all my idea. I have all of the information here.
I am the oracle.
I mean, I was floored when they kissed multiple times, and specifically when she kissed him. She kissed him in response to Jumanji, right? No,
Yeah.
it was, or was it? No, I thought it was when maybe she kissed him when the first time was under the mistletoe. Maybe it was when he told her about like the random exit strategy that he had or something. She kissed him, but that was shocking.
They were in it. They were in it, Mike. They were in love. That's what we said. We saw Doodles and Athena in love. The show, the spinoff, the brand, the action figures. We saw that all happen, and then it just deteriorates. It just slowly starts to fall apart because, I mean, listen, Athena, he might like you, but this is Doodles, y'all. He loves the game. Doodles loves the toys.
There's one thing Doodles loves.
Right.
He loves
So he couldn't balance both things. At some point, he started to be more game focused, and it was just, I don't know. I was team Athena in this one. I don't know about y'all, but I was like, Athena, you got to get out of this relationship, and you got to get out of this house and win that money.
Athena, stand up.
A little bit, because yes, Nick went absolutely aggro and was like furiously screaming at her that she just ruined everything for herself and for all of them. To be fair,
someone else did.
Well, and to be fair, it was in response though to her claiming to him like, "Oh, I have this exit strategy and a button disabler," and he was just astounded that she didn't do anything because from his perspective, that was like a get out of jail free card, to quote another thing from game design, right? It was like, okay, you can disable the button and then you'll be able to leave. So he was just completely confused, that then turned to frustration as to like, but this was the best chance you had of getting out, so why didn't you do it? From our perspective, at no point did Athena say, oh, by the way, I made up the button disabler. Because I think that would have made a lot more sense.
Well, because she didn't make it up. I believe that was Steven who was telling people, like, I can disable the button. And so he starts running that grift about halfway through the season. About episode 7, he starts saying, no, I can disable the button. So when she comes to Doodles, she thinks that Steve can do it. She thinks he's able to do it, and he cannot. So Doodles is mad at her about something she can't even control, something that does not exist. This man goes off his rocker, Jenny.
Okay, but here's the thing. There was trouble in paradise before this even occurred. And this was part of the problem between these two, was because they were in on each other's plans. They were the people that they trusted the most. You know, they were Bonnie and Clyde, as they said, and they were going to get out together. And for whatever reason, there was, before the inciting incident where Athena has the exit strategy and she blows it, and that's what really makes Doodles mad. There's already tension because Doodles gets pulled in on a plan that doesn't involve Athena, and then she doesn't find out about it until it's already been foiled, and she realizes he's becoming parts of plans that didn't even involve her. And what if it had worked out? He's gone, maybe splitting money with other people that aren't her. So then there's this like back and forth of like, well, we're both kind of keeping information from each other. And I think that was like some of the stuff that was like building the tension. So I'm sure that there was like already things kind of going on between them. And then like this was the straw that broke the camel's back sort of situation. But nobody gets between Doodles and his game, and he lost the freaking plot here. He lost his damn mind.
Yeah, that was wild. Like, Doodles went off. Who would have thought that of the 20 people that would be on the season, which included like a professional MMA fighter, a former NFL running back, some of the biggest villains in reality TV history, the guy who raised his voice the most was a man who claims to be a toy maker named Doodles, and in reality invented the second version of Jumanji.
Yes,
this was the man with the anger management issues this season.
However, Mike, have you not seen a super competitive person like playing a board game and something goes wrong and it's somebody else's fault? Like somebody screws them in a board game. Like the Monopoly board's getting flipped. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. This really felt actually on brand the more I thought about it. I'm like, I've seen this guy he's throwing tantrums when the game doesn't go his way. But it did seem like a quick heel turn because he was so silly and goofy and sweet up until this point. But this broke him. This broke him.
Yeah.
This was his last
Santa,
chance.
From Santa to Krampus, just like that, so fast.
Yeah, and I'm doing a little bit of social media research. Of course, this is coming on Monday, but we're talking the day after the entire season has come out. I haven't received an update yet via social media as to whether, because it seemed like they left like on okay terms.
Yeah,
but
like it's like I don't hate you, so I don't know.
Yeah, well,
because they had the little talk where they're like, "You're still the person I trust the most." Like it seemed like they made up.
They tried to do the one last score thing with Steve, right? Of like, okay, we've got one more exit strategy. Let's make it work. But I'm not getting anything, because Jenny, you also revealed to me, and maybe something we'll get into later, there is a more permanent showmance that has come out of this, but I don't know what the status of Doodles and Athena is.
Yes, it sounds like Spencer Pratt is taking credit for being the matchmaker of Lindsay and Shane, who apparently are still a couple as of.
Are they going to say who are apparently on the show?
They were also apparently on the show. They did have a couple of attempts themselves. Maybe not as headline making. Although I thought there were some significant things that happened. There was a costume. It was interesting. But Spencer's not taking any credit for Athena and Doodles. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not still a thing. I don't know. But I don't have any tangible proof that they're still doodling.
Well, to be fair, he still thinks that his name is probably Noodles, so that also doesn't help.
True. He wouldn't know if you set them up because he doesn't know who Doodles is.
All right, let's get into the second half of our list here, and we'll start with a big one because, believe it or not, somebody got to get out of the house, and it is, of all person, Stein.
There was a person named Stein.
Was this travel photographer, adventure producer who we've seen a couple of times at confessionals going into episode 4 when this all goes down. But really it comes down to, look at this, Chappell. 2 years ago, was it 3 years ago, we watched Celebrity Big Brother season 3, where Cynthia Bailey set a record at the time, participating in every single competition in a season and not winning a lick, getting snowed by, Misha Tate and He Who Shall Not Be Named. Some would regard her as one of the worst players in Celebrity Big Brother. And she is one of 2 people to escape and theoretically masterminds this plan to use her button watching to her advantage.
I was so annoyed with Cynthia during Celebrity Big Brother that when I saw her come in this house, I was like, oh God, Cynthia, don't do this to me again. Because I was rooting for you, man. And so to watch her play this time, I thought immediately, Cynthia's not the type of person I want in this game. She has decided that she's going to do the most boring thing ever, and that's just spam the button. If anybody walks out, I'm just standing right here and I'm going to press the button. It's like, that sucks. Let the people play. Let people play the game. Get out and try to make some moves. But then her strategy evolves from, I'm the guard of the button to maybe I'm not the guard of the button. Maybe people just think I am. And if I'm aligned with the right person who decides to make a run for it, then hopefully they'll take me along with you because, as we talked about, you can escape from the house. But you can, do this as a family, as a team, and then choose to share the money. And so we see Cynthia talking about how it's chump change at first. Okay, let me run it up a little bit. And then she finds her moment and her partner in crime, Stein, to strike. And it just goes off without a hitch. I was so proud of Cynthia Bailey. It was crazy because she was doing the one thing I don't want anybody to do, but she made it work. She gets out, and we will never see another person escape from this compound again. So Cynthia Bailey, I mean, a lot of people won and got to get out. I think everybody won. Everybody except for 2 people won. Yep. But Cynthia Bailey and Stein, they won bigger, they won better. I don't know. To me, they're the real winners.
It felt like they truly won because they actually succeeded in the goal of the game. The other ones just kind of won by default.
They just lasted the longest, the other people. And also in terms of money, Stein and Cynthia win the most money because they split $312,000 between the 2 of them. So
yeah,
it's great.
I was a little confused about the whole concept because I thought when it was like, "Oh, I hope Stein splits it with us," I thought it was more so like, "I hope he Venmos me 100
Right
something
after the
thousand
show,
dollars." I
yeah.
did not realize there was a
Yeah.
whole concept where then the car comes back and Stein has to awkwardly face the people that he just duped. It was like, "Oh yeah, this is how it all went down. Cynthia,
Yeah.
come with me." It was just such a weird way to do it, but I guess there is no alternative to not be able to do it on screen, you know?
I
Mhm.
mean, if you're gonna take somebody's money, you have to do it to their face. It would be too convenient to just like let Stein stay in the car with the briefcase of money that he gets handed when he escapes, and just let him leave and be like, I don't have Cynthia's number, sorry. Like, and I don't know if it was clear to them that if somebody gets out and like someone else is a part of it, like that they're gonna come back and like decide who they're coming with, because everyone was gathered outside. Like they obviously knew that someone had gotten out because the time or the money stopped counting up.
Right, and then
That
it
was
goes
how they knew.
down.
Yeah, and then it went all the way down to zero. And everyone had to come out, and we got to see Stein have this moment being like, I've never had this much money. You can tell he's having his little moral dilemma, but ultimately, like, he could not have done it without Cynthia. And yeah, of all of the frustration we felt watching Cynthia on Celebrity Big Brother, and if she had been button like guarding for all 10 days and that was all she did, that would be extremely frustrating. But she built up a reputation in the house as someone
Mhm.
that could be trusted to be left at the button. And I appreciate that it was an intentional choice. Like, it wasn't like she just fell into something. She truly knew what people's perception was of her as the like very trustworthy button lady, and she found someone, and it wasn't the first person. She seemed very like intentional, but like, Stein is my guy. He can run, like, I can trust him to do the physical part, and I feel like I can trust him to split the money with me. And so I appreciated that. It could have been a really boring strategy to watch, but it was intentional and it was well done.
Yeah, it sort of is like the cock block getting laid, of like, this was your
Mhm,
job,
mhm.
and now you finally get your own happiness and are able to utilize that to your benefit.
Yeah, yeah, it worked out, and I was proud of her because I just didn't know Cynthia had it in her because she's
Yeah.
let us down so many times before in competition games, and so this time she did it. She got out, and then they were able to drive off into the sunset basically with this stack of money and look back at people who will never be able to pull this off again. Like now people are going to
Mhm.
be more on the button. They're going to be more on the lookout. They hide so much security here with these people. Again, it's really hard for me to not try to fix the show and like, oh, maybe
Yeah.
you can do
Yeah.
this. Maybe you have to have 2 buttons, and maybe the buttons aren't always able, But she did it. So if for some god-forsaken reason there is a season 2, people are going to be trying to enact the Cynthia Bayless strategy.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
they say, you can't spell alimony without money, and she got plenty
Mhm.
to help her with that.
That's right.
So this segues nicely into point 7 here, because 2 people in a snap leave the game and all 300 plus $1,000. We start the game over even though Santa gives them $100,000 almost immediately. And then 2 more people leave the game through a method that I don't think we realized they could do, which is just quit. And what's interesting are the 2 people who did it, one reality royalty and one rookie. So Claire from The Bachelor, who actually was probably one of the most like adept defenders. She's the one that I think shouted out, "Hey, check the recycling bin. Steve might be in there." She was these other people that were blocking all these attempts. Is just kind of over it, misses her family, decides to leave. But Chappelle, you and I got to
Mhm.
talk about a little show called Outlast a couple of years ago. A show
Mhm.
where Jill Ashlock drove people to quit the show by stealing their sleeping bags, by popping their raft and forcing them to like burn their own camp down so that the evil people didn't get to it. And then she walks away from this game where she's just living in a house for 10 days straight. What gives?
The same way I came into this disappointed in Cynthia Bailey, I came in here with such high hopes for Jill.
Yeah.
I've seen Jill was a cutthroat player. She was a villain in Outlast. And you know what? Honestly, she probably didn't deserve to be a villain. Like looking back, there was definitely some question about was she doing anything that was extremely villainous, or was she just playing the game hard? And I landed on she was just playing the game hard. I know a lot of people did not, but I expected her to come in here playing the game hard. I didn't think that she would be necessarily someone who was trying to escape. But I knew that Jill doesn't take no guff. You know what I'm saying? She's gonna be on top of the watchtower, making sure nobody gets out. And I just felt like people are going to trifle with her, and they are not going to be happy about the outcome. For a second, it looks like she has a handle on it. You know, she's up there. You know, at the top of the building. For the people who didn't watch, there is a button that you can press to kind of sound the alarm to then cue everybody else to press the button. That's exactly where you need Jill. You need her there, in that spot where she can be in control of who comes and who goes and who she gonna see it all. She's not gonna miss a beat. And then as the next episode starts, Jill and Claire are both just gone. We don't get any explanation. It's kind of like we heard them kind of be like, man, I don't know if I like to be here. And then that's it. We don't see them exit. They just continue the game like nothing happened. And I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, they'd only been there a couple of days at this point, and here's, people's feelings can vary, and like they might think that they are ready to be away, and they aren't. They find out they aren't. But it definitely, because I'm pretty sure it was like the morning after Cynthia and Stein leave, and the pot starts over again. But there were signs of their frustration earlier than this, and I do feel like there was an element of they weren't getting any sort of exit strategy. Like they were going into the ticker tape room not getting anything, and for whatever reason it didn't seem like they were really making social inroads with people and weren't being brought in on plans. And I think that they were maybe seeing the writing on the wall, being like, I'm going to stay here possibly up to 10 days, missing my family. No one wants to include me in their plans. And so I'm either going to stay here and maybe make a tiny bit of money just by lasting the longest, or I'm going to get increasingly frustrated watching other people get out and not having a chance to do it myself. Like, my life is fine. Which is like fair. Okay. I don't know. But it's it's like, I don't it's 10 days. Come on.
It's just 10 days. You slept outside during Outlast.
Yeah, they were already halfway through. Like, I believe it was episode 5, which maybe corresponds with like day 6 or 7 by the time that they leave. To me, it's very reminiscent of like when a vote doesn't go your way on a Survivor or a Big Brother, and you're like, that's it, I'm done. Like, I don't want to even be part of this game anymore. I don't want to hang out with these people. That's what the vibe kind of was to me, that they were just kind of like, I can't believe they got away with it. We're back down to 0. It feels demoralizing. We don't know that Santa hasn't come yet to give us $100,000. I'm done. I don't need this. And I guess, respect your mental health if you feel like you were just having a really tough time in there. But it was such like a womp womp. And also it was so odd because then I assumed like, okay, maybe more people will now leave in the process. But nope, we get 4 departures back to back and then no other departures for the rest of the season.
Yeah. The pot has been sweetened,
I mean, I'm assuming that, listen, I don't know how the structure of this works for compensation outside of the actual pot system. I don't know if any of the reality TV alum were getting any sort of stipend for being there. But I have to assume that by quitting, perhaps you are sacrificing some sort of compensation. And so I think that there are probably people. I mean, Kim was missing her wine. She was missing her kids. She was missing her wine, and she stuck it out. I'm sure that there's an element of being like, hey, it's a couple more days and I might be losing out on some sort of compensation if I just quit. I don't know. I will say, as someone who didn't watch Outlast but was familiar with the lore of Jill, I expected this from Claire. Like Claire straight up left when she left the show when she was Bachelorette.
Oh, right, with
because
Dale,
she
yeah.
found a guy. She found a guy and then couldn't fake it with the rest of them. She was like, "No, this is the guy," and they're all getting mad at me because I'm clearly like most into this guy. I'm gonna peace. And then they brought in a different Bachelorette. So like she will quit a show. That is within her repertoire. But from everything I had known about Jill, for her to leave, that was wild to me. Very, very unexpected.
All right. Moment number 8. It's a small one for me, but I wanted to acknowledge it because it's one of these like incredible out of context lines that really you never think in your lifetime you could see this smattering of words get put together. So let me set the stage for you here. Susan, some of you have heard this before, gets word of an exit strategy. And so she decides that she's got a new guy she wants to get involved. And this is Rashad Jennings, specifically pertinent to Got to Get Out, specifically former NFL running back Rashad Jennings. That this would theoretically, on paper, be the fastest person to get down that driveway and leave the house and try to replicate Stein's success. The only issue is Rashad is entertaining offers from multiple teams, I should say. He is not necessarily committing himself to any team right now. And in fact, Janae is someone that's getting involved with him in a different way. And so Susan, yet again, has an opportunity to pursue. I believe this is the dash away all thing that ends up getting Gino injured. Gino gets brought in instead of Rashad. And when it inevitably blows up in her face, Susan goes off on Rashad and says one of my favorite quotes of the season: "I voted for you on Dancing with the Stars, and I don't vote for anybody."
So real. So real.
To which
so
I
real.
say, Susan, did you not vote in the last election?
Yeah.
I slept through it.
Look,
I was up all night cooking Mimi's patriotic meatballs.
she was so mad. Susan was
We
so
needed your
mad. Her
vote,
feelings was
Susan.
hurt. Her feelings were hurt. Rashad wasn't even trying to act like he was like, "Oh, Susan, we tried." Like he didn't even pretend. It was such a bad acting job. He just gave up.
Oh,
Kind of
yeah.
like, "Hey, what
He
are you gonna
said,
do?" I just, it is what it is. Yeah, awful, because I was very proud of her for finally, it's like she was learning the game. First, she realized, okay, I shouldn't tell people I'm trying to get out. Then she realized I should be awake for the escape plan. Okay, boom. Like she's piecing it together. Now she finally has the perfect strategy. She has a thing. She has the fastest person. What could possibly go wrong? They just don't care. They just don't care to help her at all. And yeah, she was very upset about wasting her Dancing with the Stars vote.
And that's understandable because she thinks she's hitting the jackpot here. She's asking the running back, the former NFL running back, to be the runner. And I don't know how last minute this pivot was, but when she realizes that Rashad is just kind of stringing her along and is not committing to the plan, and she's running out of time, she has to pivot. And that's when she turns to Steven, aka Gino, to us. And he ends up injuring himself doing this run. And we know this is an athletic man, okay? This was not a bad pivot choice for Susan. However,
awful choice
he
for Gino.
he didn't get time to warm up. He didn't get to warm up the hammies.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe if he had a little bit more notice that he was going to end up having to do a sprint, that perhaps this would have gone differently. So
or wore shoes.
Right.
Well, okay, here's the thing is is that a crazy thing? Because runners have those little toe shoes that are gloves for their feet, and that's a running thing. So I feel like there's something to the barefoot running. I think that he did this for a reason, and that maybe he just didn't have the right shoes, and that he thought he could make better. I don't know. He could do it better with his bare feet.
I mean, that might be the case. I mean, Chappell, you're more of a shoe head than I am, but there is something Christopher, for some reason, my son found these videos of like the physics of like how like there have been shoes that have been outlawed in racing because of the amount of bounce it gives you from the amount of energy you
Ooh.
put into the ground. And so like those are the best ones because you could just glide down the street off that energy.
Oh yeah, and then like you said, I do enjoy a good sneaker, and I will tell you that every shoe is not to be ran in. There are some that will kill you, and
Yeah.
so for me, I have definitely run barefoot. That is a thing that like I've raced
Mhm.
people and like hold on, let me take off my shoes real quick because I'm finna smoke you. And so yeah, I think there's something about that Gino, could have made that conscious effort to do that to win. I mean, or to get through the gate in time. But Gino, let me ask you something. What do you think the concept of this game is? Because it's clearly to get out, right? So you would think that if nothing else you've done is you've warmed up. You are prepared to take off running. You don't know if the front door is just going to open up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
why are you sitting around like, oh, well, I haven't stretched in a few days? Why? You know, at any given point, you have to get down the driveway. If anything, I'm doing calisthenics all day, trying to keep my heart rate up, just in case I got to just take off running and tackle somebody. You don't know. So I don't know. I feel like that was a lame excuse. I get it. It hurts. Yeah, like trust me, I've been there. But at the same time, it's not her fault you didn't warm up. It's really yours. You just gotta stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And he definitely wasn't ready.
All right, last.
I will
Oh,
say, sorry,
yeah.
one last thing on Gino. I'm feeling a little bit like after watching Got to Get Out, seeing all these men wearing t-shirts with their lady on them. Did you guys notice? Because Gino makes reference to wanting to win the money because he wants to make his girlfriend, his wife, he wants to propose. She's got
Mm-hmm.
rings picked out. And he's wearing one of those shirts that has photos of JC Lynn all over and it says
Oh yeah.
Jace on it. So not only was Spencer wearing the Heidi shirts, Gino, who also met his girlfriend on reality TV. They met on BB Can 10,
Mhm.
donning the shirt with her face all over it. And then I'm sitting here being like, this is the standard now, actually. I think that Phil needs to be wearing shirts with my face on it.
I mean, that would
Is that
get
too much
more
to
into
ask?
that. No, that's more likely to get into print than the Trash Can Steve shirts. First off,
We'll
secondly,
get two t-shirts made, Trash Can Steve and then the Jenny t-shirt for Phil
I
and anyone
honest,
else who wants
I
it.
honestly, and maybe this is speaking to like what whether I follow Big Brother Canada 10 contestants after the season. I definitely thought that Gino and JC Lynn had broken up before I saw
Same.
that shirt. I was like, oh, I very much
No.
thought they were just done and dusted. I good on them for going strong.
Yeah.
3 years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, madly and truly.
They're a thing. And I don't know if he's proposed yet because he left with some money and he was talking about she had rings picked out and stuff. So I'm like, the update is coming. I don't know.
All right,
Anyway.
last couple moments here, and the second to last one is again more of an all-encompassing thing. But let's talk about some of these advantages, disadvantages, because again, they get introduced throughout. They're mostly butchered by Susan, but we have things like the kill switch, which I love the fact that it had to be operated by like dropping an 8-ball in the pool, putting 3 minutes on the microwave. Like they couldn't use any props for it because it's supposed to be surreptitious. Something that's very not surreptitious is the bird cage, which is very much an impromptu, like, okay, don't button block stuff. If you do this and nobody's
Right.
going, you have to sit in the
Yeah.
bird cage. And then, of course, the made up advantage of the button disabler. What did you think about these, Jenny? A, do you think these were introduced impromptu? And B, do you think they served anything in trying to help the conceit of the game along?
So the bird cage, it's like the concept of it felt very much like a response to when the game was getting super annoying and people were literally just hitting the button constantly, like every couple of seconds. Like as soon as the red light went away, they would hit it again, so that at any given moment that they could catch someone without really having to do. I'm like, oh, this is so boring, so annoying. This is production's response to that. But like the bird did they just have that in a prop trailer somewhere. Like
It could have been from one of these challenges that we never saw.
True. Because the other things that they did to kind of complicate the defense actions, like the craft paper boarding up of the windows, as they called it, or like spraying the windows to like block the view. Like that felt very much like last minute whatever we had, this was just a response. But like the birdcage felt like such a like intentional thing. However, I just feel like it wasn't implemented. Like, who cares that you're half an hour you're locked in a birdcage that like is still in the middle of the house and people can still talk to you? Like, it wasn't like you were locked in solitary confinement in like a random room. And it also just seemed that it was like Steve often, and Steve, it didn't matter if Steve was in the birdcage because no one was like going to let Steve be in a situation where he would go on a run. Like people were just using Steve for the fake information he had. No one needed to be concerned about Steve running at this point because no one was giving Steve shit. So I like that made me think that maybe it was an idea that they had, but I just don't know that it was fully thought out. I would like to see the birdcage done differently.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, like, okay, like the birdcage was something. Like you said, Jenny, they had to do that because otherwise this was just the worst show ever because of the button. And just spamming the button. It doesn't make any sense. I think they also had to get in the birdcage if they spam the alarm up top as well. I don't think you could get away with pressing either of those. So I was like, okay, that's good. We're limiting things. But I did like that they started to use the birdcage and some of these other mechanisms a little bit, more interesting than I would have thought at first. Normally it's just do a cannonball and then, or turn on the microwave, these little tiny, like, okay, do a thing over here and then this happens. But when it got to be, okay, maybe if I get myself put in the birdcage, then I can distract Rashad, who we saw run down the flight of stairs, like basically jump off a windowsill, run down a flight of stairs, and dive for the button.
Yeah, which is very Final Destination, right? Like Gino got injured making the run instead of him. Now he gets injured falling down the stairs to press the button.
Right. And so he's somebody you have to distract, and you have to be able to get to him. And so they start to use this out of the box thinking a little bit more to go alongside these contraptions, but Steve. But Trash Can Steve and the fake button disabler will go on to just be a foil throughout the rest of the season, and everyone falls for it. And he is largely the reason why we have 8 winners of this show, something like that.
Yeah, so then let's get into point number 10, which I say also lovingly is titled Liar Steve Ruins Everything, where we get this sort of like Kaiser Soze reveal, which was a little odd because we already kind of knew that Steve was lying about the button enabler. I suppose the big reveal was that all of the attempts that were made to leave the house, he had actually also foiled them by going to people and being like, oh, by the way, so-and-so has this and so-and-so has that. That he essentially was brought in on the plan through this fake advantage and then outed said plan to make sure, essentially, to play the ultimate defense that either I'm going to get $40,000 or $0, I guess I'd rather get $40,000. And it leads to this incredibly strange ending where, again, 16 out of the 20 people win money. One of them was this firefighter named Athena S., who I had thought had gotten removed from the show at some point, but she was there.
Why did we need 2 Athenas? When one of them didn't do anything.
Why did we need 20 people was the better question. I think they realized that maybe 20 was way too many, that more people
too many people watching the windows. Yeah.
But yeah, this was the ultimate version of Mean Girls ending, where they break off the tiara and give it away, and it runs the gamut of like some people from low-income backgrounds being surprisingly celebratory to Spencer just seething. Yay, everybody wins. It was just... what an odd way to cap off this show, Chappell.
Yeah. just it felt like I don't know. I don't want to say my time was wasted because it was the journey, right? Like I
Yeah.
appreciated the journey.
Yes, it
But
was.
to get to
Yes.
the end and just be like, damn, that's it. That's all.
Mhm.
We just blow everything up. We saw so many different attempts in those last few hours because everybody was getting kind of like their last clue. Like, this is your one? And then from there, you're not getting another one. So they would get it, they would try, and then they would join the defense. And I think that's a real big flaw in the game. That
Yeah.
once people realize that it's not going to be me, now we can all align and just making sure it's nobody else. And with someone like Steve, who cooked up the perfect fake advantage, which I really honestly don't know why it wasn't an advantage in the actual game at some point anyway, just the ability to do that. But no, he makes it up. Everybody tries to go through him or around him to get their plans off because he has this powerful thing that everybody's like, yeah, but Steve has a thing. Steve has a thing. Steve has a thing. He's never going to use the thing. It doesn't exist. All it did was break up Noodles and Athena's relationship and make sure
I
nobody
like
else
that you're calling him
won.
Noodles now.
Yeah. Oh God, you got me too. But yeah,
Spencer, you're so branding.
Yeah, they broke up my favorite showmans of all time, and he got away with what 40K. So yeah, I guess this is how it has to end for somebody like Trash Can Steve, who started off at such a deficit that he had to pull himself out of the trenches to even get some money. And I'll commend him on the efforts, but I don't know if I love the television of it.
Yeah, it's like it was very much what he had to do because there was absolutely no other situation where anyone was going to help him get money. This was his only opportunity. I wish that there was some sort of function of the game where, besides people just giving up and leaving, that without people taking some of the money, that the amount of people that could be splitting the final pot or whatever diminishes. Or maybe we just have less people, like you said, Mike, because the problem is that, like, for him to try and get some money another way, his only option was to wait as long as possible and make sure no one else left. So he had to foil every other plan. I wish that there was like a way that he could try to increase the amount of money he was perhaps going to end up with. I don't know what that looks like, but like you're thinking about like the Trader's End game, where like people are pretty sure that everyone that they're left with is a faithful, but they're having the moral dilemma of like,
I was about to say, I'm intrigued to see if people who blanched at the end of the Trader season 3, how they might get to the end of this and react to the fact that 16 people split the earnings.
It's insane. So I wish, and I don't know, because there was a lot of the this game that I liked. Like, I felt like there was something that really special and different, but then I don't think every game needs to have like a vote a person out function. But I just felt like there needed to be some other way to decrease the numbers. And I don't know if it's like, if you fail an attempt to get out at some point, you can't get back in.
That's what I was thinking.
The
the easiest thing might just be if you try to make a run for it and you get the button pressed on you and the gate closes, then you're out. Because that might reduce on tries, but then it at least does winnow things down. And then you get the storyline of like, oh, so-and-so stopped this person from running, but now what happens when they get to run? I mean, that's tough because then that's automatically going to close out like your Kims or your Omarosas. I mean, Omarosa did try for it, but to be like, all right, I'm not even going to attempt to make a run for it because the gate's going to close automatically and I'm not going to be able to make anything.
No, there needs to be something though. Like, there needs to be some sort of way that you can get, like, I don't know what it is, because it can't be as simple as anytime you try to get out and you don't make it, you're eliminated. But I don't know if it's like a strike system or what. Because I like that there were people that could be part of a plan that they could have gotten money without having to be the runner. Like, I like that people were having to rely on each other, make alliances, be a part of things. Like, there was a social game function to it. It's just, it was missing something. Well, it was missing a few things, but like, it was missing a key thing to make the game go along more. And I trust me, I feel like we need to think tank it.
No.
We don't, but like,
no, let it go.
Someone does. If they want to make it.
I hear you. I too am. I'm fighting the urge to do exactly what it is, Jenny, that you want to do. Me and Jenny
Mm.
could sit here, Mike. The three of us could sit here and we could fix
I
this.
know.
We could mold
Yeah.
it into something. We
Yeah.
could come up with a strike. I think that's an amazing idea. We could start disabling things. We could start moving the button around. We could start. No. This is the crazy, stupid show we got, and
Yeah.
I do
that's
think
true.
that if they're gonna do it again, just pick a different house. Pick a different location. Make it a mall. Make it a school. Make it something.
Oh, yeah,
that,
maybe go like Dawn of the Dead and try to escape them all.
An
Yeah, but
abandoned mall,
but,
spooky
but
mall.
leave it
Yeah.
dumb. Leave it dumb. Because
Yes.
this is what you
Make
gave
it
us. I don't
more
know why-
dumb. Make it more
Yeah.
dumb.
Who greenlit this? I really have so many questions about who sat down and thought this was okay. It was fun. Like I said, very VH1 reality show from back when. But
Yeah.
that's about all to me. I just think that it's one of those shows that we took a swing. Maybe let's use the same exact cast and make them play another game. I don't know. But this game here,
I'd
I think we
watch
did
that.
it. Yeah,
Well,
I think we did it.
regardless of whether we see this mansion, these people, this concept again, this was such a great time to get to chew through some of the
Yeah.
odder moments from this
Yeah.
odder show as hearty and meaty as Mimi's meatballs. I know that we've all got plenty cooking in the pot. Let's do some quick plugs here. Jenny, anything you'd like to plug to the listeners out there?
No. Actually, no. This was really fun though. Follow me on social media. Anything else that's coming out at some point, I'll talk about it. But I was really excited to get to talk about this because I had heard about this show like a while ago and I was like, this is never gonna see the light of day. And then when I saw that it was, because I remember when I saw the lead cast, I'm like, what is this? Like what these people, and to be able to get to talk about it with the two of you, like my chaos kings, it felt very, very right. So thank you for involving me. You can follow me on social media at Jenny Autumn, and I have nothing else coming up. That's just this. I'm just living life.
Well, the
Go Leafs,
feeling is completely mutual. Go Leafs. Chappell, what do you got to plug?
I just got a question. We didn't talk about it at all, but where did Lindsay get the swamp monster outfit? Did she bring that from home?
The ghillie.
Timu.
I mean, that's I mean, what's interesting is like, so I had asked this to Omarosa, right? Like, because I didn't know if this was a concept where they were told nothing about it, and then like all of a sudden, sort of like the summit, right, Chappell, that they're like, oh, and you're actually doing this thing. But Omarosa said that like they were pitched the entire concept of this, so it is feasible that Lindsay could have known that, okay, if there's some possible stealth elements involved, let me bring the ghillie suit in.
But a swamp monster outfit, and you're trying to break out of the house, I'm questioning why Spencer didn't come with a fake mustache and a toupee. That's why I'm like, where did this come from? We get approximately 7 minutes of Lindsay over the course of this entire season, and the one time we see her and she says, "Yeah, so I brought this disguise from home." What?
They needed a tickle trunk.
Yeah,
Okay.
Gino could have brought it down from the Great White North.
Exactly. That's sorry to bring up the tickle trunk again.
Never,
but
Jenny.
because we saw
every
costume,
podcast we do.
They ended up putting Doodles in the rat costume.
Which was also
to
their own
escape.
form of camouflage. It was like, oh, nobody will suspect the rodents of unusual size of show
We
up
have to
here in
cut
the middle
off-
of it, like Atlanta.
We have to cut off the pink tail, but don't worry about your pink feet. Like,
Yeah.
it's so silly. So I am pro like the more ridiculous things, costumes, props, like bring in the tickle trunk. Let people get creative and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Dress Up. There's no tickle trunk over on Recap Kickback though, Mike. That's where you can find me. RecapKickback.com and RecapKickback.com/subscribe. We'll subscribe you to the podcast. YouTube.com/@RecapKickback to keep up with all the stuff I'm talking about. And check out the Nothing But Netflix coverage with me and Chantel. She joined me to talk about Pop the Balloon live on Netflix. It was a mess. Johnny Bananas was there being messy, and we talked all about it on Nothing But Netflix, so check that out. And follow me on social media platforms at Recap Kickback.
And of course, you can follow me at a Mike Bloom type. Always stuff going on in these reality streets, Survivor, The Amazing Race. Also doing a lot of scripted stuff with The Last of Us coming out. I talked about The Pit, season 1. Chappell, I know you're a big Pit guy, so I'm going to talk about that with Grace and Taryn. So be sure to check out all that stuff, as well as the next episode of the Reality Flash. This was a longer one, so I'll do the quick rigmarole. TheRealityFlash.com to make sure you subscribe, rate, and review as well while you're there. Just tips at TheRealityFlash.com. If you have any suggestions, let us know if you like these recaps too. Again, this is something new that we're trying between the Omarosa interview I did and this more so sort of like pseudo one-offs that we do combined with some of these more, again, flashier top 10 lists, what have you. Let us know if this worked for you. And we know there's plenty of reality TV coming down the pike, not Adam Pike, and we will have plenty to talk about then here on the Reality Flash. Thank you all so much for listening. I'll be back in your eyes and ears soon with more breaking news from the wild world of reality TV. Until then, everybody, call me Doodles, because you've just been flashed.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.